We live in one of the most free nations in the entire world. We also live in one of the unhealthiest. Every day there is a constant conversation on how to stay active and fit in today's modern world, which is filled with phones and different sources of technology that make it very easy to fall back on rather than to be physically active ourselves. But here I am here today to persuade you to try and increase your amount of physical activity. Even if you already are committed to some, it is very important to increase it by at least a little. I'm going to talk about the major benefits of aerobic activity, starting with the obvious physical benefits and then moving on to the more psychological benefits. Like I said, I'm going to start with the physical benefits. It may not be that hard to believe for some, but we actually do not meet the minimum physical requirements for aerobic activity in this country. The CDC recommends that every adult get at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity, or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity aerobic activity. Now, what is the difference between the two of these? The Harvard School of Public Health went into a bit more detail about this, and they defined moderate intensity physical activity as simply walking. Now, that makes it a little bit more believable as to almost 2.5 hours of moderate intensity physical activity. We walk all the time. We walk, and slowly the amount of time that we spend walking and moving from place to place starts to add up. But moderate intensity physical activity also includes light cycling and actually using a push mower to mow the lawn. Vigorous activity, on the other hand, is a lot more involved and a lot more strenuous. For example, Olympic runners and more intense physical sports such as soccer and basketball. The CDC also did a short study under Deborah L. Blackwell, PhD, and Tanya C. Clark, PhD, where they committed a study and found that nationally only 22.9% of Americans meet these guidelines that I've explained just now. Now, what are the obvious physical benefits to aerobic activity? Now, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, in their article Further Evidence to the Benefits of Walking, commenced 9 different trials to try and show scientifically the correlation between physical activity and weight loss. And without going into too much of the specifics regarding the facts and the deep scientific knowledge that went into it, basically they did find that there was a favorable association between physical activity and weight-related outcomes by a dose response. Basically, if you do more exercise, you begin to lose more weight by burning more calories. The more exercise you do, the more weight you lose. It's pretty straightforward. Almost nobody doesn't know this, but it is very important to remember nonetheless. Now I'm going to talk about some of the more psychological health benefits to aerobic exercise. First, it's been shown to actually improve mental health. James Blumenthal, PhD, talked about how exercise was generally comparable to antidepressants for patients with major depressive disorder. The way he tested this was he actually took a large group of people who have various stages of depression and actually split them into 4 groups of different treatments. One group was given an exercise regimen to do under strict supervision. One was given the same exercise regimen to do at home. One group was given antidepressant therapy, and the other was given a placebo pill. Now, at the end of, I believe it was an 8-month period, they found that the actual supervised exercise and the antidepressant therapy actually did a very similar amount of benefit for the patients in those 2 groups, which is how he came to this conclusion. Physical activity actually improves emotional and psychological health as well. The journal Psychology and Health, which discusses these 2 topics in much more detail, discussed the emotional effects of exercise, explaining how, this is an exact quote, just minutes after engaging in physical activity, participants reported having more energy and vigor, as well as feeling less fatigue and anxiety. Now, whenever you feel stressed or if a certain situation is very hard to deal with, a lot of times people will have to step away from the situation entirely, just kind of relax themselves, take a deep breath, maybe stretch a bit, just kind of let themselves loose and just shake off the problem that they're dealing with at the moment before they can step back in, reassess the situation, and try and come at it with a cool mind. This is because very basic movement or just stepping away from a very serious or very nasty situation that you're in can actually help to calm you and make you feel less anxious and less fatigued, and it'll actually give you a better outlook on life, which another group actually found in their own short study. The Department of Physical Education and Sport in Turkey actually came to a similar conclusion, talking about, this is another exact quote, participation in exercise is correlated with higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction, not just in younger age groups or older age groups, but in all age groups. And that's very important to remember, the importance of aerobic exercise. It doesn't just positively affect a certain age group of people, it's everyone. In conclusion, it is vital we know the importance of aerobic exercise in our daily lives. We've discussed how simple exercise is proven to be physically beneficial, but how it's also proven to be beneficial both mentally and emotionally as well. Many people already implement walking into their daily lives as they know these benefits for a fact, and they try their hardest to actually implement it into how they live their life. The American Planning Association wrote an article called Getting America Back on Its Feet, where they had this statistic. From 2005 to 2015, the amount of people who began to regularly walk between these years rose 6%. Now, that's not a lot. 6% of all of America is not a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. So it is important that people remember that the severe implications that aerobic exercise can have, so that they can know the benefits and thus improve how they live their life as a result. Now, it's not possible to walk wherever you go. It's not possible. You go out of town, you go on a vacation, you can't walk there. An hour car ride is about 3 hours of solid running, which does not work well. So I want to recommend something different. In populated areas, such as a downtown city or something of the like, rather than driving from one place to the next, stopping, going, doing what you want to do, coming back and driving to the next place, stop in the middle of all of them and walk from one place to the other, and then once you're done with all of that, go back to your car and then return home. That way you can keep active while also not compromising where or when you go to different places. Who knows? Maybe you'll actually enjoy this difference a lot more.